Hello and welcome to the ShowRatings.tv Pilot Roundtable, a Southgate Media Group podcast. I'm your host, Kyle Tremblay, and I'm the editor-in-chief of the television website ShowRatings.tv, where you can read reviews of your favorite TV shows and rate and discuss them yourself. We are in part 3 of our look at the upcoming pilots of the 2014-2015 TV season, and today we're focusing on Fox. Here to talk about what's coming up on Fox, he's a staff writer and social media strategist, still mourning the loss of Community. Ricky Diaz, welcome to the podcast.
You just had to bring it up, didn't you?
Right off the bat. Right? Just getting it out of the way quickly, not saving it till later. So as people may have noticed already, you're from England and
Yes,
currently live in England. So I wanted to ask you, just generally, do American TV networks like Fox matter in England? Like, is that a thing, or what's the TV situation like?
I think we have a Fox version in England, but it's on cable. I don't have cable. I have what I like to call poor people's TV, which is just the basics. But there's a Fox network. I think it's just called Fox UK, which shows some of the shows. I think there's still like little things that get taken over. So like I think like the main thing over here is Sky, and
Right.
I think Sky have stuff like, you know, the 24 Live Another Day.
Okay.
But, yeah.
So like Sleepy Hollow would be on that?
No, I think Sleepy Hollow's on even a different network over here. I think it might be on Fox. I don't know. I haven't been able to. Yeah, go.
Interesting, because yeah, I mean we all have one perspective over here, but that's just purely the American perspective. So over here, Fox is pretty much dying. In terms of its scripted programming and unscripted programming, because American Idol is eroding in popularity from its peaks. But I mean, Fox has shows like The Mindy Project and Enlisted that were critically acclaimed but very little watched, and even like The New Girl gets bad ratings here, and so Fox is in a tough spot. Really, not much other than Sleepy Hollow is working. So they are introducing 10 pilots this season, and we're gonna talk about all of them. So you ready for that?
Yes, let's go for it.
All right. So this is the episode reminder that we have not seen these pilots. We have merely read about them, watched whatever clips have been provided, and made our judgments based on those. So take them with a grain of salt. And in that spirit, instead of grading with a thumbs up or thumbs down, we're going to be grading them on a scale of will watch, might watch, or avoiding like the plague. So those are our 3 rating categories. Let's get right to it with Gotham.
Oh yeah.
So according to the Fox website, Gotham is an origin story of the great DC Comics supervillains and vigilantes, revealing an entirely new chapter that has never been told. It's from executive producer Bruno Heller, who's from The Mentalist, and follows one cop's rise through a dangerously corrupt city teetering on the edge of evil. Ricky, what do you think about Gotham?
I'm really excited for Gotham. I think what they're doing is that they're obviously pouring so much money into it. Like the amount of money I've heard that they've had to put in, or like they've had to like pay a lot of rights fees for it.
Yeah.
For like character names and stuff like that. But I'm really interested in seeing it. Like I think it's got that Dark Knight tone about it, but also it's still a bit comic booky, like in the way that some of it's going about. I read somewhere that there was an interesting way that they could have done it, which obviously they're not, but was to have the first season entirely with the Wayne family and finishing it off with them dying, because that would be a decent way of seeing it, because every time we've had a Batman film or a Batman TV program, yeah, that's right, I'm including the 60s version. You've never seen the Waynes, but
right.
That
story is always told just in exposition. That's just something part of the backstory of the character. Instead, they're going with the story of Commissioner Gordon, correct?
Yeah.
Him as a cop coming up, and in the trailer we see all the sort of young versions of, like the Penguin and all the
Yeah.
famous Batman villains.
Yeah.
I believe I've mentioned in every podcast this far, I'm not interested in comic books, and I have no particular fondness for Batman. And so this one, I have to say I'm not super interested in. It seems like it has a high probability, and what I'm worried about, just aside from my own personal
Yeah.
tastes, is that it's going to be shackled by the world it's in, like the same way that Agents of Shield was when it started on ABC, where
Yeah.
the show is worried to tell meaningful stories because it has this entire vast, extremely profitable web of mythology that it has to navigate, and
Mm.
and so like until recently, apparently, Agents of Shield was telling such small stories, and it
Yeah.
felt so insignificant to the Marvel universe that people stopped watching it. And so I'm wondering how this is going to work with Batman, how this is going to feel like it's meaningful and not just like it's drafting off something that's very culturally popular.
Well, I think the main thing that was the problem with Agents of Shield is that everything's going on at the same time in the same universe,
True.
and they really didn't like. I've heard that they didn't even know what was going to happen really in Captain America: Winter Soldier. So like that was what they were kind of building to, and as soon as that happened,
Right.
they kind of, well, oh, we have to rewrite everything and come up with something completely new.
But that apparently made
But
it better, didn't it? Like
yeah, yeah, it did.
it sort of
It,
unshackled it a bit because now they knew what was
yeah,
happening. They didn't have to worry about spoiling any developments or something.
yeah. But I don't think that's going to be a problem with Gotham because
Hmm.
it's set in the past. Well, from what I'm gathering just from the trailer, it seems if it's the original of like Gordon rising through the ranks, it's got to be in the past a bit, or at
True.
least a couple of years before. So and I don't think that they're going to be able to link it into the upcoming Batman Superman film.
Right.
So I don't think it's going to have that much of a problem. I think stuff like Smallville has been able to, get away and tell its own stories,
Yeah.
and I think that's what's going to happen with this one.
That's totally fair. That's a good perspective. Um, I guess the other issue is, will it feel important enough because it doesn't star Bruce Wayne? It's about Commissioner Gordon, who is
Yeah.
not the central character in the Batman story. So it's a past version of a non-central character.
Well,
But
I think that both characters are in it. They're quite linked in their rises, and it depends on how many seasons it
right.
gets. But I'd like to see. I think Detective Gordon's a good stepping point because the whole point of Batman was the city was failing and the city was getting more corrupt,
Hmm.
and you can't really see that from Bruce Wayne's perspective as a child, but you can see it from Gordon's. So throughout
Okay.
the whole of the first season, I think it's going to be more of a detective show. It's going to be more of a detective show, but also like, just showing, like, especially with the death of the Waynes, they were the ones who were kind of bringing it back up.
Hmm.
So with the death of them, you can see everything start to like crumble, and yeah, that's it.
Yeah, no, that makes sense, and it does make sense that it can fill in some gaps that have only been told in exposition
Yeah,
in the Batman movies.
yeah.
So on our rating scale, I feel like I know which way you're going, but let's make it official. Will watch, might watch, or avoiding like the plague.
No, I'm joking. I'm gonna watch it. Definitely watch it. Yeah,
Yeah, I am nothing if not subject to culture, and so even though I have some concerns, I'm still going to watch at least the first couple
yeah.
episodes to see where it is because I don't want to be left out.
You're gonna give it your five episode watch, right?
I think I'm gonna give it 3 tentatively, and if it's good, because I do like. Cause, okay, here's how little I know about comic books. I need to
Yeah,
verify that
yeah,
Arrow is a DC thing, right?
yeah, yeah,
Okay, so and I've watched 2 seasons of Arrow and generally
yeah,
enjoy that show quite a bit. So I am hopeful that that I can stick with a show like this, even if I'm not familiar with the source material beyond just the basics.
yeah.
So I'll give it a will watch as well. Okay, our next Pilot is one that may be near and dear to your heart, maybe not, but it is from England. It is being
Yeah.
adopted to American TV. It's Grace Point, described by the Fox website as when a young boy is found dead on an idyllic beach, a major police investigation gets underway in the small California seaside town where the tragedy occurred. Soon deemed a homicide, the case sparks a media frenzy which throws the boy's family into further turmoil and upends the lives of all the town's residents. In other words, it is Broadchurch adapted for American TV.
Yeah.
Ricky, what do you think?
Um, I didn't watch the original.
Okay.
Because I'm not the biggest fan of David Tennant.
Oh wow.
I really just don't. I think he's a bit overrated.
Shots
I know,
fired.
I know, but I just couldn't watch it from that.
Well,
So I haven't watched it.
good news.
And
Good news
yep,
because David Tennant was the star of the original and is
I
also the
know.
star of this remake.
Yeah, I know. What do you think of his American accent, by the way? I've
uh,
heard mixed reviews.
not the worst I've heard.
Yeah, fair enough.
It's I don't think it's distractingly bad as
Yeah,
like Jonathan Rhys Meyers was in Dracula.
yeah,
So, but I guess my question with Grace Point is why? Why? Broadchurch was a well-received series that a lot of people in America have watched.
yeah.
It's not something that was just like across the pond. It came over here and we are able to watch it. I think it's on Netflix.
Yeah.
I don't understand why this is being remade.
Well, you can say exactly the same thing about the original Office. Why was that remade for American audiences, even though it had been shown? I think,
Right.
or at least was like it was available to people in America. It's
True.
just them trying to get their money in. But the thing I do like about it is that it's not going to be your typical American season. It's what they calling a limited event.
Yes, 10 episodes.
Something like yeah. So it's only going to be 2 more episodes than the original.
Right.
So I think it may stick fairly close and just develop a few more characters.
Yeah. Well, they've said that they changed the ending. That the narrative
Okay.
is going to have a different ending.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I've watched about 5 episodes of Broadchurch. I really enjoyed it, but
Yeah.
my life got taken over by other TV this year, and I haven't been able to
Yeah.
finish it. But according to everybody, the ending is the best part of the season. And so if they're
Okay.
changing that, it could be a problem. But what I'm wondering is why they're not doing this like FX did Fargo, where they take the world of the show and they
And
take
just
inspiration from the show, but they tell a different story. I guess, I mean, in a world where we can access the original very easily, I'm not sure I understand why we're retelling the same story, even if we're talking on a different ending. And I mean, like with The Office, that I think was definitely inexplicable when it started, but by about the 5th episode of the American one, they figured out that we can't. The creators
yeah.
of the show figured out that it was pointless and
Yeah.
built it in a completely different way. And I'm just wondering if Broadchurch is going to have that opportunity, or if Grace Point is going to have that opportunity, because I imagine they're filming all 10 before it airs. So
Well,
you know,
I really don't know. Obviously the reason why they had to change the American Office is because there was only originally like 12 episodes that they could base everything off,
right?
and America do like 22. But I think it's maybe they just want to set something up so that they can take it where they want it to go, but
Sure,
they have to tell the original to get to there.
that's possible.
Maybe
I
I don't know.
I feel like this is going to get canceled. So
Yeah.
I don't think we're going to get there either way. I think the audience for Broadchurch has already watched Broadchurch and has no need
Yeah.
to watch a network version with American accents. And even though
Yeah.
there's a ton of talent in this cast, I feel it might be too hard hitting for the sort of like Big Bang Theory audience that makes up a large portion of American TV viewers.
Yeah.
So I don't know where Grace Point is going to go and who it's going to appeal to. But what's
It's
your
only 10
rating?
episodes.
Are you going to watch this?
No, definitely not.
Yeah,
Definitely avoid.
I'm going to give it a might watch. I want to check it out. Again, it could be interesting. I really wish it would be telling a different story, but we'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
Next up, we've got a comedy called Mulaney, named after the comedian John Mulaney, who created it and writes it and stars in it. Um, and it's described as a multi-camera ensemble comedy series about a rising stand-up comic trying to take his career to the next level, and the friends and mentors who lift him up, hold him back, and push him around. Ricky, what do you think of this one?
I did not like it one bit. I didn't like the trailer one bit. No, it just felt it felt cheap. It felt
Yeah,
like do you remember Partners that came out like
I do.
2 years ago?
Yes.
It reminds me of that. It like if this had come out in the early 90s, it probably would have been a smash hit. But
Yeah.
now it just seems a bit tired. It feels a bit dated, and it's got that kind of tell a joke, look at the camera, wink. You see, we told
Right.
you a joke there, kind of thing.
Yeah,
Um,
this is hard for me because I love John Mulaney. I'm a huge fan of his. I thought his stand-up special was brilliant, and I think he's a really, really funny and smart dude. And I like the idea of a smarter multi-camera comedy. You know, where it's there's a studio audience and it's a multi-cam, but it's also got these sort of smart jokes of a single cam, and that
yeah,
I believe is how this show is being pitched. Um, the trailer is an unmitigated disaster.
yeah.
It's absolutely terrible, and none of the jokes land.
There is
And
one bit in it where he opens the door
mhm.
and he says, "Bad news, guys, it's Andre," and it just is so cringeworthy. Like,
Yeah,
this is what you're gonna show in your trailer.
this is the
Like,
best.
yeah,
This
is
is-
this the best? Is this like the Sentinels coming out of like
oh
of like the
gosh.
X-Men in the Days of Future Past trailer? No, it's not. It's just like, oh no, turn it off.
Yeah. I mean, listen. I want to like this show. I really
Yeah,
do, and I'm giving it a will watch because I'm going to watch it.
yeah,
That doesn't mean I'm going to like it. And my only hope is that it figures itself out because it has a lot of talented people. I mean, this has Martin Short, Elliot Gould, and Nassim Pedrad are the supporting characters. So talented people around a comedian I really like. I'm just keeping my fingers crossed that it is better than what we've seen so far.
yeah. Yeah, I'm gonna avoid like the plague. Sorry.
Fair. I can't blame you. If that trailer was all I watched, that would have been where I was.
Yeah,
Okay, next up is Empire,
yeah.
from Academy Award nominee Lee Daniels
Mm.
and Emmy Award winner Danny Strong. Comes
Yeah.
Empire, a sexy and powerful new drama about the head of a music empire whose three sons and ex-wife all battle for his throne.
Yes.
What did you think about this one?
Three sons. I literally only saw two
Me
sons
too.
in there.
Three is a shock
Um,
to me.
yeah. Also, you forgot to mention that it's going to be executively produced by someone who was in charge of How to Live with Your Parents and Survive or something like that. It was like a mid-season show from last year. That's
Really?
something that I feel is getting missed. Like, you've
Oh,
got Lee Daniels, who's big. You've got Danny Strong, who's quite well known,
yeah.
and then you've got this little guy from this little show that got cancelled after like 4 episodes and burnt off at the end of the
And
summer as a mid-season
is he the one who's
replacement.
actually running things? Are you thinking like this
I have
isn't this isn't
no
like Lee
idea.
Daniels on a week-to-week
I
basis?
No, I think he's going to be show running it.
Okay.
Who knows? We'll see. Um, yeah, I think it seems interesting.
Yeah.
It's got like I like the well from what I saw from the trailer, pitting the two sons against each other. The
Right.
two sons, which I saw, seemed
The unseen third son.
yeah, yeah, seemed like a good kind of premise.
Yeah.
But the thing is, the two sons are completely different. Like you got, from what I see from the trailer, you've got one who's like pretty much just a gangster rapper, and
Yes.
you've got another one who seems to be a kind of soul singer type thing. So
Well,
why would you
the soul
go on?
singer, I believe, is no. There might be a third son in here that I'm missing,
Yeah.
but I think one of them is a very savvy businessman who is gay.
Okay.
Who is gay,
Yes.
and one of them is a sort of good-for-nothing kid.
Yeah.
But in the hip hop world, it's he has to make this decision that if he puts it in the hands of someone who's gay, what the blowback will be
Yeah.
for that. And
Yeah.
but I'm a sucker for the whole hip hop vibe, and so
Yeah.
I am gonna watch this. What I'm worried about is that it's not on cable, that it's on a network, and
Yeah.
so it's gonna be the edges are going to be smooth. You're not going to have any cursing or any like real rap music, probably.
Well, it's produced by Timbaland. It's the music's
Yeah.
done by Timbaland apparently.
Right.
So it's probably just going to be beats and
Yeah, it'll be beats. Right.
Dre just going hey in the background. But yeah,
it's not gonna have that. It's not gonna be hard hitting though. You know, I mean, it can have drama, but it's not gonna be like have that sharp edge that you have on like an FX series or something.
Yeah, I don't know like how I feel because it's a mid-season replacement, right?
Yes.
I think it's so. I feel like American Network should do all their first season should be 13 episodes to give them like a concise story to tell and find an audience in those 13 episodes, as opposed to doing an elongated thing and canceling it halfway through.
Yeah. I think our networks are finally coming around to realizing what the British networks have known for a long time now, which is that shorter seasons are better.
Yeah.
And we still have sitcoms that get 22 episode orders, but a show like Empire, I think, is going to be 12 or 13 episodes.
Yeah. And I think that's a good thing because it's like Sleepy Hollow last year. It's concise, it's to the point, it knows where it's going, and also you can pretty much just film most of it in one go, so you don't have to spend extra money on having to film episodes and catch up and have like mid-season breaks and all that kind of stuff. Like, if you've got them, show them and let an audience come to it, as opposed to film for, two of them didn't do good, let's just cut it.
Right, absolutely. And so I like that, and Fox is the first of the American networks to ditch the whole pilot season, where they're ordering 30 pilots to be produced, and then they pick 6 of them. Fox is the first network to get rid of that, so it gives these shows longer time to prepare. Empire, I am going to watch it. That's a will watch for me. I hope it's good. I hope it finds ways to be interesting and feel meaningful, but it's too much in my wheelhouse for me not to watch it.
I think I'm going to give it a might watch.
Okay, cool. Next is an unscripted series, Utopia, from unscripted mastermind Jean Demal. And based on the hit Dutch television series of the same name comes television's biggest social experiment, Utopia. 15 pioneering Americans leave their everyday lives and move to an isolated, undeveloped location for an entire year, where they are challenged to create their own civilization from scratch. What do you think of this one?
Okay, so the guy starts off by saying it's the purest form of reality he has ever produced.
That was funny.
Then at the end, he has all these stock characters who are obviously going to butt heads.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, I don't know how I feel about this because it's just the way that everyone says, like, this is going to be the best time of my life. I get to restart my life.
Yeah.
I'm there watching thinking, no, you're going to have a 52-week holiday. And that's it. No.
Yeah, I'm worried about this one. I'm always worried about reality shows where part of the pitch is it's so real, because at this point we all know reality shows are fake and they're engineering it, and I mean, it's great that it's going to be like Big Brother and have like a live streaming service so you can watch them 24/7.
But is this really going to be on for a whole year? Is that what they're planning? Like, unless it gets cancelled, obviously, they're planning for a whole year of following 15 people plus pioneers. Sorry, I had to do that in air quotes, but pioneers coming in and like live streaming this and I'm sure it's having 2 shows a week, right?
I don't know what the schedule's going to be because it's not premiering at the start of the season, but I would imagine it's like Big Brother, where you have like 2 a week, and they're just sort of recapping what's happening. I mean, it's in theory it's interesting, but I don't know. Reality shows, they all depend on the people and whether you want to watch these people, and so I
say people, I say characters.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's one of the same at this point. These whatever they're doing on TV. If you want to watch them, then you're going to be into the show, and if you don't want to watch them, then you're not. And so, no matter how interesting the concept is, it's going to depend on who they cast. So yeah. Next up is
Yeah, sorry, I'm not gonna watch that. Sorry, I'm avoiding that like the plague.
I thought that was a given. We're both avoiding Utopia like the plague. I don't want to get it. I already spend like 1,000 hours a year on The Voice, and so I don't need another reality show to take over my life. Next up is Hieroglyph. Described by the Fox website as the world of ancient Egypt, a time of magic, pharaohs, gods, and thieves. Was ancient Egypt, historical Egypt, a time of magic? I don't know. Either way, lives again in Hieroglyph, an exciting action-adventure series from creator and executive producer Travis Beacham, who did Pacific Rim and Clash of the Titans. What do you think of this one?
It feels like Game of Thrones in Egypt.
That's a lot.
Basically.
I think that's a little lofty. This feels like Dracula in Egypt to me.
Yeah. It feels like they try to go for it.
Yeah.
They try to go for Game of Thrones and getting Dracula. Yeah.
They shot for They shot for the moon and they hit Dracula.
Like you get these little like clipped images of like girls kissing and like fornication and like there's a magic scroll, but there's never any part of like you never see any part of like magic happening. You just hear about this scroll.
Quick question: what the hell is this show about? Like, what even is it? Like, what's that?
There's a thief in it, apparently.
Yeah, there's a thief. There's magic. Like, the problem with Dracula is the narrative was so muddy and dumb and needlessly complicated. And boy, from the trailer, this looks squarely in that zone where it's just this like. It's a world, but the plot is incomprehensible, and it takes itself very seriously. And oh boy, this looks horrible to me.
It's apparently there's a thief and a pharaoh, and their lives are linked. That is what I got from the caps that came up telling me.
Yeah, this is rough to me. This trailer was just 3 minutes of gobbledygook. Just nothing.
Is this a mid-season replacement as well?
This is not going to be on at the start of the fall, so it'll be on sometime in the mid-season.
Yeah.
So probably like Dracula, 10 to 12 episodes.
Yeah.
But this one for me is an easy avoid like the plague.
Yep, avoid like the plague as well.
Fair enough. Next up is Backstrom. From creative executive producer Hart Hansen of Bones. Backstrom is a subversive and comic crime procedural about an unhealthy, offensive, irascible, albeit brilliant detective who is brought back from exile to run the Portland Police Bureau's Special Crimes Unit. Stars Rainn Wilson from the aforementioned Office. What do you think?
It's Dwight as a detective.
Dwight is a detective.
Finally got his wish, and he's a police detective.
Can we just continue the narrative of The Office? Like, this is him.
Yeah. This is literally, like, everything he says in it, I'm like, that is a Dwightism.
Yeah.
Why is this still happening? It seems like they're aiming for, like, a House-style police detective. Someone who no one likes, but is really good at his job.
House is the right comparison.
There was a very weird part of it where one of the detectives is saying like he's in tune with like the world and he sees things differently, and that kind of made it a bit weird at one point, but then he just comes back with an usual like Dwightism of like you're an idiot type thing. But
it looked interesting enough to me. I really like the idea of a self-aware crime procedural where it's sort of poking fun at the procedural tropes, and you know, like I could see it like where you set up a crime scene and you go through the investigation, but then the Backstrom character pops the bubble.
He just wants breakfast.
Yeah, he just wants breakfast, right? Yeah, and so I really liked that, and I like the idea. I think based on the trailer, this one's going to need some time to find itself.
Yeah.
I don't think the jokes landed like they thought they would. I don't think it's as funny as it probably thinks it is, but there is room to grow. I really like Rainn Wilson as a performer. I hope that character isn't too caustic to where it's like like the brilliance of Hugh Laurie in House, and I think House is definitely the right comparison, was that he could say the worst things and be a terrible person, but you still love to watch him. And I don't know about, and I mean, I'm not saying Rainn Wilson can't be that, is just that's a very rare quality, and I'm going to have to see that to believe it, if he has that sort of trait.
Yeah. exactly.
So what are you rating this one?
I think I am going to more definite like I'm in the middle of like might watch and definitely gonna watch, but like somewhere in the middle.
Yeah,
So yeah,
this one is the same as Gotham for me in terms of I'm gonna give it like 3 to 5 episodes,
yeah.
and
Or
if
maybe it's that one where you give it like a couple of
yeah.
episodes to play, and then you just binge watch like three in a row and think, okay, maybe I could watch this or not.
Exactly. Yes,
Yeah,
it's a DVR show,
yeah,
or it looks like it, but that's still. I mean, coming off Utopia and Hieroglyph, we're
yep,
headed in the right direction.
yep, exactly.
um, okay, next is definitely the most ambitious of Fox's shows, Wayward Pines. Based on the best-selling novel Pines by Blake Crouch and brought to life by suspenseful storyteller M. Night Shyamalan, Wayward
Yes.
Pines is the intense and new mind-bending 10-episode event thriller evocative of the classic hit Twin Peaks. It
Yeah.
stars Matt Dillon, Carla Gugino, Melissa Leo, Juliette Lewis, and Terrence Howard, a murderer's row of a cast. Ricky, what do you think?
Well, Terrence Howard is busy because he's in this and
He's
um,
Empire.
Empire. Yeah.
Yeah, he's making the rounds.
This feels like it's going to be a 10-hour. It's going to be a 10-episode thing, so it's going to be essentially a 10-hour Shyamalan night film, which will basically be weird stuff at the beginning, and then the final two episodes it'll be a big
Big
twist,
twist.
and you'll
Yeah.
be like, "Oh my god, never saw that coming."
And it'll be set in Philadelphia.
Yeah, exactly. It feels like it looks like it. They're obviously trying to get Twin Peaks
Yeah.
involved, but it looks a bit more under the dome.
I love that you
This,
said that because you're exactly
yeah,
right. This to me, the pilot or not the pilot, the trailer played like Twin Peaks fan fiction.
yeah,
It was like a like, oh, we love Twin Peaks. This is our homage to Twin
yeah,
Peaks, and the fact that Twin Peaks is mentioned in the first paragraph of the press release that Fox put out on the show is a problem because I don't think you want to be like so tied to your source material. And Twin Peaks was so specifically a David Lynch show that asking M. Night Shyamalan to recreate that is seems like a recipe for disaster. um,
yeah,
Not, if it was M. Night Shyamalan like in the Sixth Sense era, we'd all be very excited. But
yeah. But
2014,
yeah,
not
not
as excited.
happening. Yeah, or the mist or whatever.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
been a rough run for M. Night.
yeah,
Um, yeah, I mean, I'm gonna check this out because it's clearly
just
Fox is betting a lot on it, um, put a lot of money behind it. But I think you're dead on that. This I think has as good of a chance to be an unintentionally funny show, like Under the Dome, as it does
yeah.
of being a genuinely good show.
Mm.
So, what's your verdict?
Yeah, I don't think I'm gonna watch it.
Yeah,
I think I'm gonna avoid. I'm afraid.
I'll give it a might watch. I
Yeah.
mean, I'll check out the pilot, but I can't promise anything more than that. If the pilot isn't either better than I think it's going to be, or really funny in an unintentional way, then I'm out. Okay, two more shows here. Next up is Last Man on Earth, um,
Yeah,
which I said Wayward Pines was the most ambitious, and that's probably from a monetary perspective. But from a creative perspective, it's hard to beat a show that only has one person on it.
yep,
It is a new single camera comedy about the life and adventures of literally the last man on Earth, and it
yeah,
stars Will Forte and no one else.
yeah. Oh, really? No one else at all?
No other cast members listed. He is the last man on Earth for real.
Because I thought, like, how can they do this? How can they literally have one man, especially from the trailer where it just seems like he says nothing
Yeah.
apart from maybe sing a song? I was thinking maybe it will have like flashbacks, and that's the way that you can kind of
Yeah.
get everything. But yeah, I don't know how they're going to do this, and
I'm sure you're right. First of all, I'm sure you're right.
I'm actually really intrigued to see it.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, you're right. I'm saying no one else, but I'm sort of being
yeah.
cheeky about that. That's yeah. It's I'm sure there'll be flashbacks. So the hour.
But if there's not, it would be great.
It would be stunning
It
if it
would
was
just
just
be
like
him.
22
Yeah,
minutes of silence of him
yeah,
trying to it would play like Castaway, right? Like
yeah,
him sort of trying to make meaning and do sort of menial tasks for himself
yeah.
and
Just
that's
like
fascinating to me.
little things like I don't know why I thought of this, but like he goes to the toilet, cuts a commercial,
Yeah.
Commercial comes back, flush, he's out the toilet. Shit, stuff like that would be great. But yeah, I'm really intrigued by it. Like, I really want to see where it's gonna go.
Yeah, this show could be groundbreaking
Yeah.
and like make us rethink what television is, or it
It
could
could
be
literally,
yeah,
it could be like a 22-minute Charlie Chaplin
yeah,
esque kind of show, which would be great because you
yeah.
know there's no dialogue. It's just who knows.
It
We'll
would be
see.
amazing to have done on TV. It could also be a total disaster and
Yes,
cancel after
it
two
could.
weeks.
Yeah,
So, but I applaud Fox for picking up something like this, and I am going to watch it,
yeah,
better or
definitely.
worse.
Yeah,
Yeah, worth checking out. Um, okay, last pilot for Fox is Red Band Society.
yeah.
Described as what if a hospital was your high school, boarding school, and summer camp rolled into one? What if it was the place where you fell in love for the first time and made friendships that lasted a lifetime? And what if it was all weirdly hilarious and the most
Oh,
fun you ever had in your entire life? I take issue with Red Band Society calling
yeah,
itself hilarious.
yeah. Also, the fact that it has to say that it's hilarious,
That's a
kind of.
problem.
Yeah.
So many. I've read so many of these descriptions now, and so many pilots this year describe themselves as sexy. I feel like there was some kind of industry memo. Like that's not so. You can't describe yourself that way.
It's it's like the embargo on the word "sexy" to describe a show
Yeah,
is suddenly lifted,
yeah.
and now everyone can use the term.
Everyone's getting
Yeah,
in it. But this is the first. This is the first comedy to call itself hilarious. So good.
yeah,
Good job, Red Band Society.
yeah.
What do you think?
Well, first things first. I'm glad. Is it Octavia Spencer who's in it?
Yes. Yes.
I'm glad she's in it because that means they're not doing the Murder She Wrote reboot that they were saying they were going to do. But it with Glee finishing next year, this feels like
hmm
they're trying to recreate Glee only in a hospital,
Yeah.
and I don't know how I feel about that.
Well, it's a remake of a Spanish series, I believe.
Okay.
So it's not completely original.
Mm.
The comments on the trailer, the YouTube comments, which are always a good source of information, were basically 100% to the effect of, "Why are you remaking this?" um, so that's always a good sign.
Yeah.
Uh, the trailer was fine. I wasn't. I didn't hate it, uh, but I also didn't see any real reason to watch.
Mm.
Um, for me, as someone who doesn't watch Glee, and that I think you're right, is
Yeah.
the audience that it would appeal to. The jokes didn't really land that hard, and they seemed to really be trying to pack a lot of emotion into the trailer,
Yeah.
and without context, that kind of falls flat for me. So,
Yeah.
um, do you see yourself watching this?
I'm as someone who liked the first couple of seasons of Glee.
Yeah.
I probably will check it out on a couple of episodes just to see how it is.
Mhm.
But yeah, that's about it. I'm not. It's not blowing me away, but it's going to be something that I will probably eventually watch. Maybe once the first season is done, and
If it makes it.
yes, once yeah,
Yeah.
basically see if the first season gets done and have a look. I know it's a bad thing to do,
Right.
but yeah,
I'll give it a very tentative might watch, just in
yeah,
case it because there is a chance, of it being sort of a heartfelt, fun series.
yeah.
But based on the trailer, I'm not exactly seeing that.
Mm.
But we'll see. We'll see when it premieres. So okay, let's recap. Ricky, what is the Fox pilot that you are most excited about? I think I already know the answer.
I think I might actually have to say Last Man on Earth.
Really?
Yeah,
Over
I might have
Gotham?
to.
What an
I
upset!
know.
Oh
It's
my
gonna.
gosh!
Well, yeah, I know what to expect from Gotham,
True.
and Last Man on Earth is really intriguing, actually. So yeah,
I, you know, I
I
think I
know.
have to go with it as well. Like
Yeah,
I'm gonna watch Empire. I'm obviously gonna check out Gotham and a variety of the Backstrom, a variety of these other
yeah,
shows. But the show that I'm excited about, just seeing what it is
mm,
Last Man on Earth.
yeah,
So I'll
definitely.
I'll go with that as well. Which one, if you had to bet, will be the first canceled or the biggest disaster?
It's gonna have to be Mulaney, I think. Is it Mulaney?
Mulaney,
Is
yeah,
that?
the,
Yeah, I
yeah.
think it might have to be that.
That could go terribly, considering Fox's record with comedy. That all 4 of its current Tuesday night comedies have disastrous ratings, and
and they're being moved around.
They're being moved around, and could go badly. I feel like if Mulaney survives that initial bad ratings, it could settle into sort of a mini project like thing where it still gets bad ratings, but at least people like it. But that's still a ways off. For me, no surprise, going with Hieroglyph. I think Hieroglyph's going to be gone after 2 episodes. I just think that's a show where you don't have like a really noticeable star the way Dracula did with NBC, where they want to keep it on because they've got a big star in the middle, and it doesn't have the Sleepy Hollow kind of fun vibe. I don't see a world in which Hieroglyph lasts for more than like 4 episodes. Okay, so Ricky, thanks so much for being here. How can people keep up with you?
At Ricky Loves TV on Twitter.
Absolutely.
That's Ricky with a Y, by the way.
Ricky with a Y, of course. All right. Well, that wraps up the 3rd of our 5 scheduled Pilot Roundtable preview episodes. Check back again soon for the rest of the networks. You can listen to all the episodes of the ShowRatings.tv Pilot Roundtable podcast at southgatemediagroup.com. Follow me on Twitter at KyleLovesTV and ShowRatings at ShowRatingsTV. And read myself and Ricky's writing at www.showratings.tv. I've been Kyle Tremblay. Thanks for listening.